It's the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Here's your host, Matthew Ablan.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This month, I am fortunate to have with me singer-songwriter Shannon Lee, although many listeners might be most familiar with Shannon through her jam-packed open mic nights. Hey Shannon, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, are you originally from the Charlotte area?
I am not. I grew up in Michigan and lived in the Detroit area for 13 years before we came here. So we've been here for 10 years.
Northeast, huh? Mm-hmm. And what brought you down to Charlotte?
What's that?
What brought you down to Charlotte?
Oh, my husband's job.
Okay.
My husband is in air traffic control, so we decided to get out of the city and come on down here.
Oh, okay. So what's your music background?
Well, I started out in a small town singing at churches and talent shows and stuff like that. And then I eventually went into musical theater, went to college as an opera singer.
Neat.
And I just didn't like that world. It was a little pretentious for me.
The opera world?
Yes. It was a little cutthroat and pretentious for me. So I got out of that. And I kind of landed in a rock band in Detroit and started doing some writing and stuff like that. So it's just evolved into what I do now.
So backtracking a little bit, you have some classical training. Then when you were in college, you were studying opera?
I studied opera all the way through high school and college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school, if you don't mind me asking?
I went to Central Michigan University.
Okay. All right. I actually studied classical guitar.
Okay, cool.
In college and grad school. And that's my background with that. And you, after a while, where you just got,
I just didn't.
soured on it, I guess?
I did. I didn't have the, at that point, you know, at 19 or 20, I just didn't have the thick skin that was required to deal with the divas and the backstabby things that I was seeing in college. And I was like, I don't think this is a world I want to live in. And, I do regret I had a full ride scholarship and I took all the music classes and then I kind of flaked on the extra stuff. So I never got the piece of paper. I got the education, but I never got the piece of paper. Right. I do wish I had finished it.
Yeah, that piece of paper means a little bit.
Yeah.
And at least finishing up some stuff. Cause I know for me, I did my undergrad and I did that. And then when I went to grad school, I wound up actually becoming a music teacher.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It opened a couple other doors to do some other things if I want to teach college classes and things like that. It kind of helps in that aspect. But that's good. You got that wonderful training for voice.
Yeah, it has been just, so valuable that having that education because I've been able to sing in a rock band 6 nights a week and not destroy my voice. So it was very good. Very good education.
You see a lot of pop stars getting the nodules and stuff because they're not using their vocal cords right.
Right.
And then of course they go to the the vocal teacher.
Right.
What do I do?
Try and undo what they've been doing all this time.
That's the way it works. So, how did you get into songwriting? So you were in school, decided that wasn't for you, and then you started getting into rock bands.
Yeah, I just decided to sit down and do some writing and just. It just happened. I just got going on it and started writing and had a whole bunch of songs and had never done any recording for myself, had done a lot of recording studio work for other people.
Right.
And back in, 2014, my husband finally kind of pushed me over the edge to finally do the recording for myself.
That's wonderful.
It was a good thing.
And that's on your website, right?
Yes.
Okay. simplyshannon.net if you haven't checked out what Shannon's doing. So let's just talk about the songwriting process a little bit. So you got into, I know it's always tough for writers to talk about this kind of thing, but just I want to talk about the process of how you got into it. So you went from school, you got into decided not to do that, went to a rock band, you said. Mm-hmm. So did you start writing stuff right away or were you just doing cover band stuff for a bit?
I had been dabbling in writing since I was in high school. I just hadn't really taken it very seriously. Never wrote anything down. So I forgot most of what I wrote in high school.
Right.
And, I was raising babies at that point after college.
Okay.
So I was home a lot. And, that's when I started getting a little bit more serious about it, and just sat down and started writing things down, started actually at least getting it on some kind of recording on the computer so I didn't lose it forever. And, for me, I'm not a prolific writer.
Okay.
I have friends that, they've got a new song every week.
Right.
It's not like that for me. I go in spurts where I'll write a whole bunch of them, and then it'll be years before I'll write anything more.
You got to get into that creative mode.
Kind of, yeah.
Everybody works differently. Everybody really works differently. It's interesting when you talk to people about that process of writing. Some folks are, like you said, they're very prolific, if I could say the word, and they will write stuff all the time. I've always thought about it as a craft that you need to kind of sit and do all the time. And this is you're talking to somebody who hasn't written a lot. A small handful of songs, and I'm actually finally trying to get an EP done, years and years later, but I find that I've got to go do it. I've got to sit and do it, because I'm not going to write the White Album in,
You're right.
In 3 days.
And I just talked to my friend Kevin Marshall about this, because I actually haven't written a song in probably 3 or 4 years. I haven't written a whole one.
Oh, wow.
I just haven't finished one. And he says, you don't have writer's block. He says, you're just not writing. And I said, oh, well, yeah, you're probably right. He goes, you don't have to write good stuff.
Yeah.
Just write something.
Yeah.
The more bad stuff you write, the better your chances of writing something good.
Yeah.
You got no chance of writing something good if you're not writing at all.
Wow, that's true.
See, we just talked about it the other day, so I've been letting that cook in my brain a little bit.
And I find, there's relatively few people who write who find their style right away.
Right.
I think most bands or artists, it's going to take them a little while of writing to fall into how they do stuff, the sound that they like, the sound that they want to create.
Right.
I always use, if you listen to the Beatles, their first album is not the same as, Sgt. Pepper's or Rush. Their first album is not the same as Moving Pictures. It's different stuff.
Yep. Everybody evolves.
Yeah. And unless you're, I don't want to slam anybody, but unless you're AC/DC, where you're like, this is what we do, and I have this formula, and this is what works for me, and that's it.
Right.
I kind of like guys who, or artists who run the gamut and aren't afraid to try different things in that. And I think that's how they grow and learn. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely.
So your main instrument, is it piano?
Piano and voice, yeah. Are my main instruments.
And most of the things that you write, are they with voice and piano?
Yes.
Do you branch out?
To instrumentals? Or
instrumentals, or trying some new instruments?
Oh yeah, I play guitar and ukulele. I've written songs on with the guitar. I haven't really written anything on the ukulele yet, but I will.
It's a fun instrument.
It is. It's impossible to be sad when you're playing it. I'm a ukulele pusher. I think everybody should have one. It's easy to play.
Right.
We have access to all the information in the world on the internet to learn how to play. I think every child should have one, and every parent should spend some time teaching, because anybody can learn to do it. And actually, we every year around Christmas time, we start collecting money for ukuleles at the open mics.
Right.
And we've given away 9 of them, and I've got 6 of them at the house right now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Waiting, for Christmas time to come along. And we'll raise enough money to probably, do another 7 or 8, 10.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yeah, I think it's so important for kids to have instruments, anything. Sure. And it's such a nice, handy little thing. It's not intimidating at all.
Yeah, I've been doing ukulele for a few years, and I got turned on to it by a buddy of mine up in New Jersey. And I started doing it here. And as a music teacher, I actually have a ukulele unit that I teach my kids in school. So during 4th and 5th grade, they start learning how to read ukulele tab and strum simple chord progressions. So, and I torture them. I make them sing at the same time.
That's awesome. It's a gateway instrument.
Yeah,
it really is, because not every kid's going to sit down and learn the piano, which I think is the best first instrument. Mm-hmm. But if you can't afford a piano, or you can't afford piano lessons, or if you got a kid who doesn't have the patience, you can stick that ukulele in their hand and get their fingers working. Yeah. Start teaching them some basic theory, strumming, and it can open up their mind to maybe moving on to guitar or piano or something where they're going to expand.
Yeah, and instruments are so cheap these days. I mean, you can
Find
go
them
pick
cheap.
up a electric guitar for $100. You can pick up a ukulele for $30. You can
Yep.
pick up a electric keyboard for $100.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to start, there's really just no excuse.
Yep.
Although I think most kids these days are too busy playing video games and
Oh, I
than to sit
disagree
down with an
completely.
instrument. Yeah.
I do. I see kids all the time at the open mics that are working very hard to play. I think our kids are getting a bad rap with the video game thing. I see more grown men that are wrapped up in playing their video games than I do kids. And that's just being honest. You know, I think the kids are very interested in playing music. We see them all the time.
Right.
At the open mics, and some of them are really, really good. And they're writing and they're putting bands together. They're doing jazz, they're doing rock, they're doing classic rock. It's really cool to see.
Right.
It's really cool to see. And all the music teachers that I know are busy teaching
Yeah.
kids.
No, I teach. Yeah, I got a lot of kids. Also have some adults, and that's fun too. All right, so you've been playing piano, vocal. What made you get around to doing your recording? And when did that occur?
It was 2014, and it was really inspired by my husband. He was like, we really need to get this done. And so he came up with the money, and he's like, let's just do it. And so we did. I got in touch with my friend John Shaughnessy, and he produced it and we did it at Old House Records up there with Chris Gargis, and we just hopped in and went.
Oh,
And we spent about a year on it.
nice.
And it was a really cool experience. I actually had my piano delivered to the studio, and it stayed there for about 5 months.
Is that a studio here in Charlotte, or is it okay?
Yep, Old House. It's up on 16 in Charlotte. He had just moved there when we started, and he didn't have a piano there yet. So I got my old upright, 1935 upright.
Wow.
We delivered it there, and it lived there for about 4 months, and so everything on here is on my childhood piano.
Wow. Did you write the songs before you went into the studio, or
Yes.
were you one of those folks who I sit in the studio and I try to write and get inspired while I'm there?
No, this album, Crystal Butterfly, all the songs except for Crystal Butterfly were written at a certain point in my life where, you know, life was kind of in the tank. So it was just, this was a very therapeutic CD for me to do. It tells a very specific story about a rough time in my life. And it's about things I think that a lot of people go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily easy stuff to write about or talk about, but if someone can relate to it that's going through it, then it's worth doing it.
Sure.
You know, so the next CD will hopefully be much more peppy and happy. It's not a depressing CD. It's just, it deals with some pretty deep stuff.
Right.
And so I'm really proud of it. Really proud of it.
Well, I think a lot of people, you can't really write anything. I don't know. I guess you can. People just write in their head and they're not. But I think that the best artists are the ones who write from within.
Right.
Whatever comes out is what comes out. You can't force it. I mean, I'm a guy in his 40s. I can't sit there and write like a 16-year-old girl and be like, this is what 16-year-old girls want to hear.
I know.
I can't do that. I've got to write what comes out of me.
Right.
You know, at certain points in my life.
Yeah. And it's a pretty raw CD in not just the subject matter, but in the way that we did it.
Mm-hmm. How so?
We did it all pretty much live.
Wow. Okay.
So we didn't use click tracks and we didn't track everything out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't Nashvilleize it. I wanted it to be raw, real,
Okay.
live. So
Right.
I mean, there was a few things that we tracked over, but very little. And I've been criticized for it, and I've also had people who think it's really cool to just kind of get back to let's just sit down and play it. And so I think there's just an honesty about it. We left in. We didn't go through and fix every single flat note.
Right,
We didn't,
right.
You know, we didn't go through and edit it and fix, you know, every single
Sure.
thing. We didn't use any, you know, voice stuff that would pitch control and all of that. We didn't use any of that.
Right.
We didn't even use any digital reverb when we
That's
mixed
nice.
it. We ran it back into the room and used the natural reverb and So people have asked me, did you do that on purpose? And I'm like, it's very much on purpose.
Right.
I wanted it to be very relatable and real, and it sound like it would at a show, you know? And so, and then the reason I did it was, one, because I wanted to, and a lot of people told me not to, because it was my first CD, and they're like, no, you're making a mistake. And I'm like, but it's how I really want to do it. But I had seen an interview with Patty Griffin the week before we went into the studio, and she had just made her CD, American Kid. And she had done exactly that, got back to the roots of just going into the studio and playing and not getting all wound up in everything being perfect and mechanical. And when I saw that interview, it was like, okay, I'm going into the studio next week.
Yes.
There's my ammunition when I sit down and say, no, this is the way I want to do it. And so it turned out exactly the way I wanted to.
Wow.
Wanted it to. And I was actually able to hand her the CD and kind of tell her, you know, you gave me the strength to do this CD the way we did it.
That's wonderful. I mean, I think in rock music, because I think for a lot of yours, at least for my ears, I would consider it kind of more indie rock, if that's a good kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, a genre, if you want to stick it in. But talking about genres, what I understand anyway, a lot of classical musicians and jazz musicians, they don't play with click tracks.
Yeah.
They put the recording on, and because that's part of the style. Mm-hmm. Rock musicians and pop, we've got to have the click track. It's got to be perfect. It's got to do this.
Yes.
And I think there's a warmth to going back to, you know, just recording and doing that. Some people who record will probably disagree.
Oh, they will. They have, you know, and my whole thing, and this is my philosophy for music, your band, what you're trying to do, whether you're recording your band, your open mic, whatever you're trying to do, is that there's room for everybody to do it however they want.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe in saying there's a right or a wrong way to do anything, even though there are a lot of people who do think that. They've got no problem sitting and telling you, you're doing it wrong. And it's like, no, I'm doing it right for me. It may be wrong in your world, but, you know, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't think any one person's opinion on the matter has any more weight than anybody else's, because we all have to live in the world we're living in.
Sure.
Personally. I don't want to force how I do things down the throat of someone else. That's one of my major philosophies in life, is that there's room for everybody. Just find what works for you. Find other people who think like you do, and then everybody will be happy.
That's I think that's a great vision.
You know, I think that's the major problem that people have with finding a band or finding a project or being happy, is that they try to force people who don't have the same ideas as they do into their box. And then they end up fighting. And nobody's right or wrong. They just are maybe not compatible because their goals are different or their reasons for doing it are different. You know, there's always going to be the guy who wants to play at the coffee house and put a tip jar out, and he's just happy to play.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's always going to be a coffee house that can't afford to pay somebody, and they would like to have music. So there's always going to be a spot for that guy. Sure. And there's always going to be a spot for the corporate wedding band that wants to make thousands of dollars and have a big bus and go out and do that.
There you go.
There's room for everybody. Just find your people and find your places. And then we all could be happy and stop telling each other how to do it.
Great idea.
I've been down on my luck, and I've had it all. Climbed to the top of the world, only to slip and fall. But I'm not gonna give up now. Made the biggest mistakes and the worst decisions. The price has been paid, and I learned my lesson, and I'm gonna stand Gonna pick myself up, dust myself off, and fly.
All right, so we were just listening to Crystal Butterfly off your album. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. It's the one song that was written specifically for this record.
Really?
All the other ones were old songs.
Okay.
That I always knew I wanted to record, but I knew I needed to put something new on there. And it's a song that fought me from the very beginning. I fought it writing it. We fought it in the studio recording it. And it was just there was something about it that we just couldn't quite get it. Couldn't quite get it going. And but it fell together really nicely. And then it went all the way to mastering, and the guy at the mastering, he goes, all these songs sound so great, but there's this one that there's just something missing. And we all looked at each other and we said, oh God, we know which one he's going to say. And so we ended up taking it back to the studio. There's two versions of it on here. There's a full band version, and then there's one with just piano.
Okay.
And we ended up having Jason Atkins throw some organ on top of it, and he just rescued it. It rescued the song. So it's the most expensive song on here, the one that cost us the most to record. But what I love about it is it's really about pulling yourself up out of the ashes. You know, when things have kind of gone bad, there's always hope. You're a diamond in the rough.
Right.
You know, just keep polishing things, keep moving forward, keep making those little cuts in there. They might hurt a little bit, but it's gonna just carve you into this better person as you go. So there's always hope. So it's a very hopeful song.
Let's take a listen also to Those Eyes.
Okay.
Is that all right? Let's take a listen to that one.
All right.
Look into the mirror, I see a woman standing there before me. I don't recognize something in her eyes. And I don't know who she's become, but suddenly she is someone who bears no resemblance to who I thought she was. Those eyes are angry.
So what about Those Eyes?
Well, like I said, this a lot of these songs were written when life was a little tough, and I was just going through some bad times, some bad behavior, I guess, with being in a rock band and a metal band, and
right,
young and all of that. So I was mixed up in some things I probably shouldn't have been, and I did. I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, "Wow, who is this person?" Looking back at me. And so it's a very introspective song about what's going on here. What are those eyes saying to me? And so it's written in the first person and the third person all at the same time. It's an interesting little tune how it all kind of fell together. But it ends up being, it's one that gets requested probably the most, especially by women. I think women really relate to that moment of, okay, where did I end up? How did I end up here at this point in my life?
I'm not even sure that's just a woman thing. That's just, I think that's a process of getting older. You turn around, whether you're, I think you hit your 30s and your 40s. I think you get over that nonsense when you get to your 50s, where you just say, so. I mean, I'm 48,
okay.
At this
I'm
point,
47.
I'm kind of like, okay, I'm comfortable. Like, I'm not really worried about what everybody's thinking, and I just trying to make myself happy.
Yep.
I don't worry. I think you get out of your 20s and you get into your 30s, and some people freak out and they're like, I'm not married, or, oh my God, I just got married. Is this all that life is? And in your 30s, you start to turn 40 and people think, oh my God, I haven't done anything. All those things I wanted to do with my life, and I'm only doing this. Is it just going to work and raising my family, or is it just going to work every day and sitting watching TV? Is that my life?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And most of these songs were written in my 30s. So I was at that point.
Little introspection.
Yes.
There you go. All right. So let's jump.
Okay.
And you've been doing a lot of open mic stuff.
Yeah.
You're a staple in the Charlotte music scene as far as, I mean, not that you're not out performing.
Right.
But you got Shannon's Jam going on. And you play all over the place. Tell me how that started.
Okay. Well, back in Detroit, getting into the rock band started at an open mic. Because I lived down the street. I was raising babies. I needed to get out of the house. So I would go to this open mic every Sunday. And then one of the bands there needed a singer. And that's how that whole thing started. And then I got up here and I started going to a songwriter night at Freeman's Pub in Gastonia and got really involved with that. Original songwriter night. I started bringing the sound for that and got super involved in that. And then just I had been playing at a place every other Friday, and they wanted to do an open mic, and the owner's like, "You want to do it?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll pull extra money in my pocket every week.
Right.
It'll be easy." Never thought it would turn into what it has. I didn't realize what an impact it would make, not only on my life, but on the lives of a whole bunch of other people. Now, the Tuesday night open mic started at Divine Wine and is now at Moochie's Tavern, and it's been going for almost 4.5 years now total.
Wow.
And we average anywhere from 25 to 50 players every week. It's to the point where
it is huge,
where we have to do an indoor and an outdoor stage. And I never envisioned it would grow into what it has, but there's a lot of controversy over open mics, and a lot of people have big opinions about them. But it's generally the people who don't go to them that have these large opinions. An open mic, a really successful open mic or an open jam provides, first off, a place for young people to go and play in front of a large group of people.
Okay.
It also provides young people to get to play with more experienced players, so they get that charge of what it really feels like when you're playing with something really good. You've got people who don't want to play professionally. They just want to go out and play once in a while. They don't want the responsibility of a paid gig. They just want to come and play.
Okay.
It gives them a place to do that. Newcomers into town to come and meet a really cool bunch of people. I've seen bands form. I've seen people get paid work. A lot of the places that run these open mics hire from their open mic, so you can end up with a paid gig from it. There's just nothing bad about it. And a lot of folks will say, well, people are playing for free, the bar's getting entertainment for free. They don't get it for free. At Moochie's, for example, there's 4 of us who get paid. I employ 3 other people. I employ a sound man. I employ my outdoor guy. A drummer. He brings his stuff in. I get paid. Basically, it's a full band getting paid every Tuesday. And so I challenge them with what else is going to happen on a Tuesday night in a great bar, but kind of in the middle of nowhere in Matthews. What's going to happen? It's going to be one guy.
Sure.
That's going to sit up there and play with a guitar for 3 hours. He's not going to hire a full band for Tuesday night.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's no stealing of gigs from players when you're having an open mic on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And what it's doing is it's actually providing a wonderful service to the community.
Right.
And the folks that come out to Moochie's and to Dream Chasers, not only would they like to come and play music with you, but if you need your sofa moved, you've got a whole bunch of people that would come and do that. And we've had where we need to pass the bucket. We had a bartender that had a stroke a while back. We passed the bucket without even asking.
Sweet.
There's $200 in the bucket. They're just it has created a family that is more than just the music. And I've watched older players who maybe have never played out in front of people ever in their life. They'll come in, they can barely make it through one song, but they come week after week after
And they
week
get better.
after week. And pretty soon I'm saying, hey, can I put a drummer up with you? Or, hey, can I put a guitar player up with you? And pretty soon I've snuck around to the point where I've got a full band with them.
Oh, that's nice.
Over time, over a few months. And then all of a sudden here you've got this budding musician who's now playing with a whole bunch of people and just continues to grow. And it's just wonderful. It provides a place for people to belong. It provides friendship. It provides all kinds of things. And I never set out to do that.
Right.
And it's been very enriching for my life. I just love watching it all happen.
So if you haven't been to one of the Moochie's Tavern Shannon Jams, it is a huge event. I didn't know about it until a friend told me you can go on Facebook and Shannon actually broadcasts the tavern gigs live. So you could go see the players who were there that night and, stop for a little bit, go do something, come back, watch different players at different times. It's kind of neat. How did you get into broadcasting it live?
Okay. That started back at Freeman's. Wes Cobb from West Art Video used to do the sound, and he would live stream it. And this was 5-6 years ago before live streaming really took off.
Right.
And so when I started the open mic and Facebook Live came about, I was like, well, I can toss my phone up there, So that evolved into, buying a nicer camera. I have a Mevo now that we use.
Yeah.
And I liked going back and watching, not just my performances, but
really
others.
neat.
It's fun to go back and you can watch and you can go, okay, I need to work on that or whatever. And we used those videos for promotion. So I wanted to provide that as a service, And I don't put a whole ton of time into it.
Right.
I don't have a special microphone and stuff. So I'm sure the sound clips and doesn't always sound perfect, but it's just a fun thing. It's fun to watch the comments scroll by. There's a lot of the jammers who travel for work.
Sure.
So they'll be
watching
wherever they are. Yeah. And
Nice.
they'll be watching from wherever they are. So and a lot of us are implants, my family's all back in Michigan. I
Right.
have friends all over the country. So it's nice to put that up there so that people who can't come to a live show can watch, and all the people who are playing, they can do the same thing.
That's fantastic. Is just out of curiosity, has the open mic been a progression for you? Because I think open mic, here's my thought.
Uh-huh.
There's a PA, there's a microphone, and the main act comes and does some songs, and then somebody else signs up and kind of does something. But if you go to one of Shannon's jams, she's got a whole bunch of instruments already up there. So you bring stuff.
I do.
Well, did you start small?
No,
Or
yes.
did you all of a sudden
No.
start and be like, I've got to have a whole
No.
regular band? What was the progression?
It
That's my
totally
curiosity.
progressed. We started out at Divine Wine. It was just like that. It was one Bose system, 2 mics, two guitar lines, and a keyboard.
Okay.
And it was usually, and it started out slow, and it was usually one person at a time. And then it just started to snowball. People started bringing, well, can I bring my guitar amp? And I'm like, sure, we just got to keep it quiet. Oh, can I bring my cajon? Sure, we just have to keep it quiet. It's a wine bar. And by the time we ended at Divine Wine, which we only ended it there because it closed.
Right.
And by the end of it, we had bass amp, we had guitar amps, we had a full drum set. We were bringing a full, bigger PA, and the last night at Divine Wine, which was exactly 3 years ago, yesterday, the 30th, it was a full-on jam. And I was standing there going, I have no idea what I'm doing. I had no idea what I was doing because, people just show up with their guitar.
Right.
It's not like bands were coming in, so I'm having to put people together, and
wow.
and so I just got thrown into the fire. And when we moved it to Moochie's, I thought, well, maybe I can dial it back and get back to that singer-songwriter thing. No. The very first night at Moochie's, I'm not kidding you, we had 13 guitar amps on that stage, 2 bass amps. We had a full kit. We had a full hand percussion set, and we had 40 people there.
Wow.
And it just kept going forward.
That's
onward. So I ended up buying my own guitar amps so that people didn't have to bring them in. Bought my own bass amp. We had so many drummers out there that I have the drum kit, and then I have a whole hand percussion kit to keep them busy.
Wow.
'Cause I never, and it's just been a learning process over the last 3 years because managing the people is the hardest part.
Yeah. How many performers usually get in the evening?
It's at least 25 usually, but like this time of year, it's closer to 40 to 50.
Right.
And so just learning the politics and the diplomacy of, well, you were here at 5:30 and you just walked in at 8:30. You're not going to get on the stage right away, and just keeping things fair for the night and keeping things fair over time.
Right. How long do you normally let players play for?
We do 3 songs.
Okay.
And that will vary. Like if we get a night where there's a ton of people, we'll knock it down to 2. And with the acoustic folks, we do all acoustic music from 7 to 8:30 because just the dinner crowd,
sure.
Before we get loud. Most of the time it's 3 songs, but if I've got 12 acoustic folks, I'll knock it down to 2.
Yeah.
Because they can play outside too.
Sure.
So that's the hardest part, is just managing that list of players.
Do you normally have just regular folks coming in, or does like a regular band come in sometimes? Like, hey, we're just a band. We're starting out. We want to kind of get out there and play.
All of the above.
Oh wow.
We have individual players that come in, and so we'll build a band around them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do have several bands that come in that they'll come in as a full band, and we'll put them up there. And then if we got a partial band that comes in, I can always backfill. I have some of the most amazing players that it doesn't matter what style it is. It doesn't matter whether they know the songs or not. I can put them up there and they're not going to get in the way of the person who does know the songs.
Right.
So if I put a guitar player up there that wants a band, it's fine. I just put a lead guitar player, a bass player, a drummer.
Sure.
And they just provide this wonderful background for them. It's really fascinating to be a part of. I'm really passionate about it, and I think all good things come out of it.
Nice. Well, it's grown. That's for sure. How can people get in touch with you about the open mic or watching the video? How do we do that? If I've never been to a Shannon Jam and I want to see it, what do I do?
The best thing to do is to hop on my Facebook page, which is Shannon Lee Music.
Okay.
And there's an event schedule on there, and that will, every Tuesday and Thursday, plus all my other shows are on there. And then on a Tuesday night, just hop on there. I run it from my personal page, but I always link it to my artist page, so it's always on there.
Okay.
And
so like your artist page?
Go like my artist page. Yep, go like Shannon Lee Music, and they'll find it on there.
Okay.
It's always on there, and yeah, or they can send me a message.
Okay.
But if you go to the event, it's pretty detailed on the equipment that's available and how we run things, but I just encourage anybody who wants to just come and really hang out with some really cool people. It's almost like playing is bonus.
Right.
Because just sitting back and watching what happens up there, the magic that can happen up there is so inspiring.
Sure.
When it comes time your time to play, it's like, oh yeah, I get to play too.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I get to play too. And everybody's really friendly, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful, unexpected thing in my life.
It's your thing right now. I don't know anybody else in Charlotte who's doing such a successful open mic. I know other people doing open mics, but not to the success that I have seen and come down to Moochie's once or twice to see what you've got going on there.
Yeah, it's. I think it is definitely unique. It's unique. I'm really, really proud of it. But I mean, you'll find me on a Wednesday night, at other ones.
Right.
Like my therapist told me she thought I had a problem. She's like, I think you have a problem. I think you've got an addiction problem. I'm like, what, to music? She says, yeah. I said, well, what else am I going to do?
Man.
So there's many, just about any night of the week, except Friday and Saturday, you can find a really nice open mic to go to here in Charlotte. There's several, especially on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
There's some really good ones.
I'm going to have to pick your brain about it and start doing something.
Yeah, there's
kind of fun.
Yeah, there's almost always some place to play.
Awesome. So what do you have coming up, Miss Lee? What do we got going on in the future, next couple of months?
Well, I just had a rehearsal yesterday for the Crisis Assistance Ministry benefit. That happens at the Evening Muse the first Saturday in August every year. So it's August 4th this year. Randy Franklin of Randy Franklin and the Sardines runs it.
Yes, I know. I don't know him personally. I am friends with him on Facebook, and I've been trying to get Randy on the podcast forever.
If you ever get a chance, he's just one of the most delightful people.
Okay.
He really is. He's just so
you
positive
tell him,
and wonderful.
I talked to Matt.
I
And
will.
said, when are you coming on the podcast?
So we've got that coming up on August 4th. It's a wonderful charity. They pick an artist every year, and we all cover songs from that person. So
Okay.
The first year I did it was The Who. There's been Bob Dylan. But this year it's Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be really good.
Wow. They're going to need some good female singers out there.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing about this particular event is everybody takes the songs and kind of twists them a little bit.
Okay.
So who knows what will happen. It's been really fun to watch, but tickets, people need to get them because it will sell out. It'll probably sell out here pretty quick. So I've got that coming up. I play every weekend. You can go to the Facebook and see where that's at.
I will put some links in the show notes to your webpage, Simply Shannon, and also
Facebook page is probably the best place because that's where I keep up with the events the best. I need to have a chat with my webmaster. She's kind of slacking.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Shannon. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling us all about everything that you've got going on.
Well, thank you for having me. I love doing this stuff.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll have you on again in the future.
I would like that very much.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Bye. And that will bring episode 11 of the Queen City Music Podcast to a close. If you are a musician or otherwise involved in the music scene here in our fair city and would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, you can find the Queen City Music Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and iHeartRadio, among other places. So keep a lookout. Until next month, get out there and support the local music scene here in Charlotte. Bye.